guys, welcome back to Counseling Confidential, a podcast where we help you decode high school. I'm Claudia Wager.
And I'm Jessica Stewart. Today we're going to talk about ACT.
So seniors, your ACT will be held here at CHS on October 4th, and then our juniors will be taking it in the spring.
And so these are the ACTs that we do here at school. Like you do one in the spring of your junior year and one in the fall of your senior year, but you can always schedule your own ACT whenever you like through ACT.
Yeah, exactly. So you just go to act.org, make sure you remember your login if you have one, because we're not able to get that information for you.
Yeah.
So just make sure you're writing it down, keeping track of it. You can sign up for Saturday sessions. So you just go to a school. Usually it's in the county, but you can also kind of venture out if you'd like. You just show up on Saturday, and there's a few things that you'll need, not only on those Saturday ACTs, but also on the ACT you take here at CHS. So Jessica, you want to tell us a little bit about that?
So like the first thing, one of the most important things, right, is your number 2 pencil. Yeah. Calculator and some batteries to make sure you have some backup batteries for it. We do have some of those things here, but we don't have enough for every single student. So make sure that you prepare and have some of those materials with you on the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And, being prepared with your materials is super important. But another really important way to be prepared is to get a really good night's sleep, not only the night before the test, but a few days prior, as well as a good breakfast. So something really nutritious. Make sure you're waking up a little bit earlier that day to give yourself time to really enjoy that breakfast, as well as, some positive self-affirmations. So, before I take a big test or anything important happens, I kind of tilt my head back, take a deep breath and smile and say, this is going to be great. It's really crazy what a good mental mindset can do for you.
Yeah. And I think just in general, good mental hygiene. I think we forget the impact that having a good night's sleep can have, and just having good nutrition. Like you're just in a better place to even be able to give yourself positive affirmations that day.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And, this is a test of stamina. So it's a long test. So make sure that, when you break into the new section of your test, that you're taking a deep breath and really kind of mentally preparing yourself to start the new section, so it doesn't feel as long and as overwhelming.
And I think just taking your time with it. I think sometimes students get overwhelmed with the time limit, but if you're kind of just pacing yourself throughout, you can do it just as long as you're doing one thing at a time. I think another thing that we wanted to remember is to talk about how to send the scores to colleges. So sending your current scores, you can actually determine where you want your scores to be sent and go ahead and have those sent. If you need to update those scores at a later time, you can always do that if you retake on a different day and you get a higher score.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you send those through the act.org. So that's why it's so important to remember that login. Yeah. So you're able to get on, select your schools, send that all over. What also is interesting, Ms. Stewart, is that there are some schools that are test optional. So we want to talk to you all about whether or not you feel like you need to send those scores when it's test optional or not. So Stewart, do you want to?
Most of the schools have kind of changed the policy now that we're kind of out of COVID. They've gone back to requiring the test, the ACT test or the SAT test. But some schools still are test optional. And we get a lot of students who ask us, should I submit my scores if it's test optional? And we have a couple of different ways of looking at it. I always recommend talking through it with your counselor, pulling out your transcript, having your family there kind of walking it through what's best case scenario for you. But ultimately, I think you have a really good approach to it. Is it going to demonstrate who you are as a student? Is that score going to demonstrate that? And if it's not, maybe we think about what our other options are for that test, including it or not including it.
Yeah, and I know that can be a hard decision to make, so make sure you're utilizing your resources. Talk to your counselors, maybe talk to your teachers even about what they might recommend. The more people involved, the better your decision is going to be in that sense. All right.
So how do we prepare?
Yes. So we talked about preparing mentally. We talked about the food and all the materials that you need to bring. Now we want to talk about studying or study materials that you have access to. So a couple of those is that act.org that we mentioned earlier. You can go on there. There's actually steps exactly on how to find that. So I'm just going to kind of lay that out for y'all. So there's a link on there that says learn more about ACT test prep. So if you click on that, there are things within that page once you clicked on it that you can pay for. However, if you want a free resources, which is what we recommend, scroll down to the bottom and there is a button that's labeled free ACT prep, test prep. So that will take you to a page with a multitude of choices for you to kind of study from. We have another one.
So we have the Princeton Review. It's a 14-day free trial. So you have to go back and cancel the trial so you don't get charged. But it's a 14-day free trial. And then we also have...
We have Kaplan. That's Kaplan. This is one that you may have not heard of before. And they actually have practice tests and quizzes. You just have to make an account. As well as they have a question of the day. So you just put in your email and then you can get a question every day that you would see on the ACT to kind of get like a daily practice. So that's always a good one.
Yeah, and you can also use Khan Academy. Now, while this prepares you for SAT, and we recognize that, they cover a similar material. So if you're looking to improve your skills in a certain math area or a certain English skill, then this would be a good resource for you. If you're looking for strategy, which we are approaching kind of that time period where there's not a ton of time to study and get the foundational skills in place necessarily, we can work on some areas. But working on strategy is actually one of the best ways to improve your score on the ACT. And so we have a couple of ACT prep teachers in the building, Mr. Burns and Miss Long, are happy to talk you through some of those strategies. But also, there's a lot of resources online where you can just look up ACT taking strategies and how do I manage my time? How do I narrow my options? So
yeah, I think a really big strategy when I took that test was that if I got to a question where I really didn't know what the answer was, I would sit there and read it over and over again. And like the first time I took it, I wasted so much time that I couldn't have time to like do the rest of the questions on that page. So really just like if you don't know a question, like mark it, keep going. If you have time at the end of that section, go back and look at them again.
Yep.
But we don't want to spend too much time on one question and leave the others blank.
Yeah, exactly. Really good advice. Can I tell you the story of when I took the ACT for school?
I'd love to hear
it's pretty hilarious. I didn't know I had to take the ACT. I didn't know it was a thing. My school counselor made me sit down and fill out my college application. And I think a few weeks later, she was like, have you taken the ACT? I was like, what is that? And she was like, well, you need to take it to go to college. And I was like, okay. So she signed me up. I didn't study. I didn't do anything. I made the score I needed by 1 point to get a scholarship at the community college I needed, and I never took it again. Like that was just, I didn't even know I had the scholarship until I started school the next year. So you'll do better than you think, and it's just give it a try.
Yeah, and students typically do better the second time.
Yep.
So if this happened, like if you missed the junior year one and this is the first time you're taking it, you don't do so hot, take it again because you will do significantly better.
ACT says that they can see improvement between the first and like fifth-ish taking. You can see upwards of like 4 to 5 points increase. So that's something that they expect a lot of times, is that the repeat taking is going to help you, because a lot of it is just getting used to the system itself.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And I think juniors, that's really important for you all, because you're able to take it, they sometimes offer it in the summer. You're able to take it before you take it in the spring. So if you want to sign up for one this school year, I would definitely do that. Just the more practice, the better. It's like with anything.
All right.
Okay. All right, Cougar Nation, that's it for today. We see you.
We hear you.
And we respect you.